Welcome to the latest installment in the series, The Story Behind the Song, where we do deep dives into the meanings of music and the stories that they tell. The full playlist of songs we've done thus far can be seen here and is linked in the description. But today, we are talking about My Little Dark Age, a popular song by MGMT that went through a phase of being associated with memes spread around YouTube. Just from listening to this song, one immediately gets the vibe that there's some potentially deep and dark meaning to the lyrics, and in this video, we delve into the nature of the song and how it reflects some of the darker themes of being human. The song begins with a verse that says, "Breathing in the dark, lying on its side, the ruins of the dead painted with a scar, and the more I straighten out, the less it wants to try. The feelings start to rot, 1 week at a time." Now, it seems as though we are immediately thrust into a metaphor for depression, or otherwise debilitating emotions of dread that can consume a person. The first few lines sound akin to a dying animal, or someone on their last breaths of life. However, the last couple of lines indicate a more personal struggle. The line of, "the more I straighten out, the less it wants to try," resonates with me in the fact that the road to improvement is often marked with work and trials. Sometimes, motivation to drag yourself up out of the dark hole of emotion you find yourself in gets sapped in the moment you begin the journey, as the path ahead seems too arduous or impossible. And as the last line in the verse indicates, this leaves the feelings to continue to rot away at you as the weeks pass by. The narrator, or the person the song describes, are suffering but not dying, for their pain comes from their very own emotion. The next verse, which serves as a version of the chorus, says, "Forgiving who you are for what you stand to gain. Just know that if you hide, it doesn't go away. When you get out of bed, don't end up stranded, horrified with each stone on the stage, my little dark age." This verse is interesting, as it uses the word you, indicating that the narrator is delivering a message to the listener or whoever the song would be meant for. In many cases, people will use the term you as a catch all word for relatability. Example, "You know when you do X," or "when you see this, you Y." I believe this verse serves as a general statement for the actions of a general population, including the narrator, rather than a singular person or entity, but I also believe that it could very well mean that as well. A line that particularly interested me was, "Forgiving who you are for what you stand to gain." Now, I can see an interpretation of this sentence where it is signifying how one must forgive themselves in order to move forward with life. Everyone has faults and everyone makes mistakes. It's human nature. And in order to even function properly, there is some level of self forgiveness that everyone has to apply to themselves. Otherwise, most of us would constantly be racked by guilt or feelings of low self worth. And while this is valid, I think there's another, perhaps more terrifying theme that this line is getting at: forgiving who you are for what you stand to gain. Most people who commit horrible acts of varying degrees of depravity are after something, and some try to excuse their actions with the thought that they are trying to achieve or gain is worth the terrible deeds they must commit to obtain it. They are sacrificing morality in a selfish pursuit. And while the majority of us aren't committing large scale crimes, most people have at some point in their lives done something immoral as a means to an end, whether it be tell a small lie, manipulate someone, use somebody, whatever it may be. No matter how small, there was a conscious sacrifice of morality somewhere. The next line of the verse loops right into this. "Just know that if you hide, it doesn't go away." One can hide from their misdeeds, even masterfully cover up their sins, but at the end of the day, that person will always be aware of their immoral actions even if no one else is. On a personal level, all sin is inescapable. Once you do something, whether you regret it or not, it will always be with you in your mind. The closing lines of their verse, I think, can relate to this concept as well, as they mention being horrified with each stone on a stage. The idea of a stage could relate to the act people will perform around others, presenting themselves as a better person than they know themselves to be, oftentimes triggering intense feelings of imposter syndrome within them. And of course, the phrase that the song is titled after, "My Little Dark Age," probably encapsulates all of these themes happening over a period of time. All these feelings can contribute to dark feelings of depression or low self esteem, sometimes arriving in intense waves for varying spans of time, creating a personal era of darkness for a person. The next verse, "Picking through the cards, knowing what's nearby. The carvings on the face say they find it hard, and the engines failed again, all limits of disguise. The humor's not the same, coming from denial." The first two lines deal with cards and carvings, both of which can have ties to fortune telling practices or techniques. This could have to do with the fact that the future is cloaked in uncertainty, and despite efforts to understand what is to come and hopes of a brighter day on the horizon, they know that what's really nearby, and the reality is, it's just more days of normal life. The engines failed again insinuates a larger metaphor involving a machine, which oftentimes societal structures are referred to as a machine. The narrator saying that the engines failed again could be implying that society has failed them, just as it has failed many people before them. The phrase limits of disguise could relate to how covering up imperfection is encouraged, but it's ultimately a facade that can't get you very far. As established earlier, one can never outrun their own shortcomings. I believe the last line is displaying an attempted detachment from the depressing nature of reality through humor, but making light of such things is just another cover up device, being sourced from a denial about the true nature of their existence and the systems surrounding them. The song then transitions into the second iteration of the chorus. I grieve in stereo, the stereo sounds strange. I know that if you hide, it doesn't go away. If you get out of bed and find me standing all alone, open eyed, burn the page, my little dark age. Grieving in stereo could suggest a duality of feeling, as stereo refers to a way of listening to audio where there are two channels, left and right, for each ear. It could also relate to trying to drown the grief in sound, such as how people will wallow to certain songs that reflect their feelings these days. Yet, even that sounds strange in the sense that it becomes distorted when channeled through the warring emotions within them. The lines about getting out of bed and finding him standing there, I think, can show the stress that comes from growing through such feelings, resulting in many sleepless nights that only further accentuate the growing depression. Burning the page could represent the desire to forget this dark age, to burn it away, and given the context of the verse, perhaps requesting for somebody's help to burn it all away. But alas, feelings such as this are persistent, and even if they hide for a while, offering a time of happiness where it appears the days have brightened, they don't truly go away, and can rear their ugly head at any moment. The next verse: giddy with delight, seeing what's to come, the image of the dead ends in my mind. These two lines could hint at, let's say, unaliving tendencies, the narrator becoming giddy at images of the dead that were filling in his mind, and the release of death becoming appealing in the light of his heavy emotions that were becoming too much to bear. It felt in his mind as though they were at a dead end with no other options. It continues to say, policemen swear there's love seeping from the guns. I know my friends and I would probably turn and run. If you get out of bed, come find us heading for the bridge. Bring a stone, all the rage, my little dark age. These lines are perhaps what solidifies the song as a truly horrifying and dark piece of media. The first line shows how police are insistent that the guns they carry are meant for maintaining order and delivering peace. Yet the narrator and his friends are suspicious of either their true intentions or are aware that actions they have done, spawned from the depression they have been struggling with, finds them on the wrong side of the law. With all avenues perceived as lost in their minds, they carry a stone to the bridge to finally end their little dark age. The line of all the rage could suggest the horrifying frequency in which these tragedies take place, reflecting the failure of society and the dark places that the human mind and complex web of emotions can trap someone in. The song closes by reciting the chorus a couple more times, the eerie music and haunting lyrics leaving a lasting impression that lingers in the mind of the listener. What makes this song so horrifying is the fact that the themes it presents are relatable to many people, as everyone is born into the world, which can often be a path marked with suffering. Most people have experienced their own dark ages of varying degrees of severity, and the only thing any of us can really do is work to be the best version of ourselves in hopes that we can make the world a slightly better place. If you enjoyed this lyrical analysis, please check out my Story Behind the Song playlist, which is linked in the description. Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below, and until next time, it's been Playmaster.